The shiur will literally be 15 minutes. If there's no disturbances, we'll go 15 minutes and that's it. If you have questions, then ask. Other than that, be quiet.
You talk the most long
The moment that you start my this year is going to be about dvar b'sachtainim. That's going to be the main focus. Preparing the world for a house to Hashem, and it's basically this week's malchus. We're going to connect it to Matan Torah, to Sphira, to this week's parsha, and it's basically going to explain, hopefully, to my best of my ability, I'm going to explain how and what exactly we're doing in this world, and what is the goals, and at what stage of time are we holding right now. So the Matan Torah was given in the desert, right? We spent 40 years in the desert, but before that we had Matan Torah, and the question, there's a famous saying in many places that the desert, the reason why I was given in the desert is because a desert is a place of hefker.
Sure.
You know, there's no one lives there, no one owns it, not by a single person, not by multiple people. You just go there and you have the right to stand anywhere you want. And the Matan Torah, it was inherited to us in a very, just take. It resembles the Torah because Torah is just, it's a very hefker thing. Whoever wants could just open a book and learn. Whoever wants could start living that life. Right? That's how it's connected. The Rebbe asks a very simple question in the beginning of the Sikha. It doesn't seem like very much connected. The Torah is basically just for Jews. It's for, the way of life is just for Yidden. It's not for Goyim. Can't really. There's certain parts of Torah they can't learn. They can't live regular Jewish life. They don't officially have an neshama or whatever. They have a soul. They have their own purpose in this world. But it doesn't really make sense to say that the Torah is just for wherever you want. It's basically for the Jews. And also the Rebbe says, so why is it the desert? Desert doesn't seem like an appropriate place to give the Torah. Another question the Rebbe asks is, why is there such a thing as an appropriate place to give the Torah? The Torah is somewhere which it's supposed to go all over the place. The whole point of the Torah is to spread it out all over the place. So you tell me that there has to be an appropriate place for the Torah? Anywhere is an appropriate place for the Torah. Torah is powerful. Torah is not sensitive to any place. So, in order to understand this, the Rebbe brings down something that we're going to read Pirkei Avos this week. And there's a Mishnah, it says, Asar Ma'amaris Nivra Olam, the world was created in 10 speeches, in 10, right? Hashem said 10 things, and with those 10 things, Hashem created the world. Hashem created everything. Which also corresponds to the 10 spheres, Chachma to malchus. And there's a question that the Gemara asks, or it's brought down in Medrash, how can it be? Why did Hashem create it in 10 speeches? He could have created it in one. He literally could have, Hashem could do anything, right? So just say, let's go, world, whatever, and there's a world. Why did it have to get split up? So the answer that the Medrash brings is because Hashem wanted to show how much time He invested in it, how much He put Himself involved. So He said, I created it. It says that He created it in 10 speeches to show you that if someone tries to destroy the world, like a Russia tries to go against, or someone, or a tzaddik does good in the world, he's doing good in the world that Hashem spent 10 speeches on, right? Like a guy that did the marshal that someone told me a few days ago, is that if someone makes a puzzle, and if he spent more time on it, then the guy that destroys it, just destroyed more of his time. And so the Rebbe right away asks a very simple question. If God can create the world in one speech, then why is it that when He created it in 10 speeches, it's considered as if He invested more time? If He could have done it, if He had the ability, it doesn't mean He was just lazy and sitting around until He created the world. That's literally what it sounds like. If you could do it in less time, and you didn't do it in less time, that means that you didn't really invest. It's basically you just dragged out the time. You didn't invest. If you could learn for half an hour this a certain amount of certain amount of chayma, a certain amount of quota, and you do it in 2 hours, it's not investing more time. It's just that you dragged it out. So the Rebbe explains that really the world was created in both, also in one speech and also in 10 speeches. How does that work? So there's 2 levels to the world. There's 2 ways. When you look at the world, there's the form. First of all, there's an existence. There's a substance. There's the physical touch and everything. Everything has one thing in common. Everything in the world has something in common. That's a physical touch. Everything you touch is physical. And then there is the form, the shape, which that changes. It changes everything becomes a separate identity, a separate, and it identifies as something else. It gets a different separate title. So that's the physical touch of the world expresses the Yesh Mi'ayin, the powerful level of God. The level of Hashem is just power, which is called Sefer Kalamin. It's called many things, but we know it as Sefer Kalamin. It's something just power. It's literally, it shows on how it expresses the ability of God. Expresses, if we focus on it a little bit, the fact that there's a physical touch and everything in the world has one thing in common, no matter what. If you realize that everything comes from one place. You have many brothers, right? And they all go to different, go on different journeys. They have one thing in common. They are brothers to one parent, one father, one mother. It's a one thing in common. So you recognize, you're like, wow, these guys are brothers. And then, so that's also over here. And now the form brings out the talents of the person. Like, for example, of the person or the thing. It brings out the talent. It brings out what it can do. So it expresses more the world part of it. The world aspect. Oh, this can do this. This can do that. And in other words, but also in that you have godliness. Why? Because you're like, oh, this comes from chesed. This comes from fura. This is kindness. This is that. Everything has its separate identities, and it all identifies as something, and this identifies as this because it comes from this specific level of God. And that's 2 ways to look at it. Now, the point is, so that's 2 ways to also connect to Hashem. Literally, it's 2 ways. You can look at nature and say, wow, the tree is so beautiful. Hashem created a tree. You can look at a view, you could, and slowly come to the recognition of Hashem created such a beautiful thing. And that's Mimalik Laman, or you could look at it as, oh, this is a physical touch. Look at the world's physical touch, which is a bit harder, but you can see, you can understand it. It doesn't get to feeling as much as Mimalik Laman as the other part, but it's the physical touch. It's like, oh, okay, this is all from Hashem. There's something in common. Something in common, which means that there's the life. Everything has its life. It all has life, and just this life means that there's something greater. Now, our job is to connect them together, right? Our job is to literally take it and connect it together, and that's main of that happened in Matan Torah. Matan Torah, there was the bottom and the top combined. The Yodim and Ruknis and Gashmis combined. What's the difference with what we're trying to do now? If you already combined them during Matan Torah, what are we doing now? What are we doing? It's all combined already. What we're trying to do right now is let the top stay the top, let the bottom stay the bottom, and at the same time connect it. In other words, do basically the impossible. And that's literally Atzmus. You have Hashem in His ultimate, you have the bottom in the ultimate bottom, and just bring down the way Hashem is in His essence, and bring it down here, without trying to combine just the truth with the truth, because really everything, the bottom is found in the top, and the top is found in the bottom, like a string. Tip it around, it's always the top and the bottom. You can't decide which one's the top and the bottom is. And so it's the same thing we find in Torah. Torah is the whole thing. There's Torah. There's the way, the Torah that was given from Hashem, the purpose behind Torah, and then there's Torah, the separations the different halachas, the different halachas that you're supposed to do as a yid. And when you combine them together, you reach a higher level. Now, how do you do that? How do you practically combine the two together? What do you do? So with that, you need to be in a state of a midbar. In other words, you need to have some bittul. You need to lower your ego a little bit and think about the other person. Because what you're doing is you're lessening your existence. You're thinking about the bigger picture. You're thinking about, oh, there's someone else, because at the end of the day, we all come from the same place. But at the same time, when people are together and they express, each guy expresses their talents, right? So it brings out both. It brings out the fact that people are together, the bigger picture, the fact that there's a greater thing besides for each guy doing his own thing, but also at the same time, there's a bunch of people doing their own things, which that also expresses the other side of it. So the point of what we're supposed to do is basically elevate ourselves up, but at the same time bring it down. So the way to do that is obviously stroll is the way to do it throughout the day. But when you wake up in the morning, you have to start with davening. Davening gives you some bittul. You wake up in the morning, you daven, and you have to have the recognition of oh, there's something greater than everything. And once you have that recognition, now when you go live in the world, now when you're living in the world, you're doing whatever it is, you're learning, you're playing. Now you can bring down what you experience through davening, and you can bring it down into the world that you're living. And that's why the Torah was given in the midbar, because midbar is showing on the part, is trying to hint to us that yes, it is for everyone. The purpose behind it is for everyone. If you want to go into, oh, who has to do the Torah, who has to learn, who has to, fine. Then about actual learning, yes, every person can do according to how much he can do. But if it's about fixing the world for Moshiach, that's only through, that applies to everyone. It applies to Goyim, it applies to Yidden. Yes, there's, in details, there are certain things that Yidden have to do more than Goyim, or Goyim have to focus on a different aspect. But it's meant for everyone, and the whole thing is to push it, bring out the ultimate atzmos, the ultimate, so Moshiach can come. One last thing. Also, the only way to actually have the full essence of full godliness is through us making a house, because Hashem is great up there, but He's going to be even better when He's with us. Because just like a regular house, the way a house is the way a person is only fully established when he has a home. He has a home, he has a family. That's when he's fully established. That's when he's finally, who he is. He's working, he has responsibilities, and he's finally established. He's finally living life, right? Till then, it's still a process to get to this, right? So same thing over here. Hashem is in a process, and we are in a process. We're partners to finally getting to. We already have a house for Hashem. All we have to do is make it possible to live in. Just make it possible for Hashem to live in, for us to live in with Hashem. Because at the end of the day, we all come from the same place. Us and Hashem is not. It's a whole. What's going on over here is really a whole show. We're partners. We're partners in bringing Mashiach. And when you think about that a little bit, you'll realize that it's very necessary right now, because thousands of years passed, and finally we're literally right there, and we should just do whatever we can to bring Mashiach l'chaim, bro.